All right, welcome back. You're joining us is this the third episode?
I think so.
Yeah, third
Yes,
episode of the podcast for QAM. All right. So I'm Karina Blesta, Air Force veteran. And we also do the other radio show, Veterans with Benefits, Monday nights on The Point at 6 p.m.
that's right. And I'm Anthony Tyron for those that don't know me.
So we had a lot to talk about. I mean, there's so many events that happen, but I think what we want to concentrate on is year of the Veteran Registry and Count. So that's going to happen April 18, 1:30 p.m. at the large conference room in
That's
Adelaide.
right. And the proclamation is for us to try to once and for all focus in on getting the count more accurate and more sustained, and you know not be so elusive. That number has not been something that any of these entities or people are able to actually uh, control, understand, or with any level of confidence tell us what that number is. And the way they use it and how they use it is very beneficial to us as veterans when it comes to making decisions. However, it seems like whoever's holding the key to that elusive number and the cage that it's locked in or let out from, we need to capture it and put it back in that cage so that we know what that number is, so we can take advantage of using that for our benefits, most especially out here. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, the folks stateside, they always have the same problem. And some of the challenges with them saying they have the same problem is they're not thousands and thousands of miles away from Washington, D.C., where the decisions are made. And by us being able to help put this together, then, I think we'll start maybe bringing attention. And this would be the second year event that we've had proclaimed
Oh,
by
yes.
this administration.
Yes. So the first one was 2024,
Last year, Year of the
Year
Veteran.
of the Veteran.
Yes, so we like to thank the governor and lieutenant governor for putting that together, and all the staff, and helping bring light to that. I think we didn't get enough exposure in that, so I think that might be one of the reasons why we're here, and it's on the radio station, and we continue to push on bringing more focus into what's going on here on Guam with that. Now, what do you think the proclamation is going to have on it, or did you already get a chance to see it?
Oh yes, I read the draft already, but what's more important is that not what's in it, not what's said, but what it means.
Okay.
So we spoke to Senator Barnes last night. She called in.
Yes.
And she said she wrote a letter to the chairman of the Committee on Veteran Affairs, and then to also the chairman for Military Construction and Veteran Affairs. And it was about her letter of, hey, all of these numbers are here, right? But let's get a state director for the island, and let's cut the cord from Hawaii. Because, when you follow the media for Hawaii, for VA healthcare system, everything is about Hawaii. There's nothing about Guam. New clinics, new programs, new events, but the only thing they do out here is their quarterly PACTAC registration, and that's not highly advertised. So what the proclamation would do, because in her letter she said there's 24,000 veterans on Guam. That number, right, that's a huge number, but there's only 6,000 registered for healthcare up at the CBOC, and 11,000 receiving compensation and benefits. And those are the ones that are receiving money, right? Compensation, benefits. So all those numbers do not match. If there are 24,000 here, what's going on with the 6 and the 11? Why can't we get all the numbers straight, or at least even somehow? So that means that veterans aren't registering for healthcare. Veterans are getting compensation, but do they know they can register for healthcare? So the proclamation will be to reach out to these veterans to say, please come and register, especially the retirees.
Yes, and even with that, right? We talk about, okay, the retirees need to come up there and register. For one of the things we may need to consider, right, is healthcare on the island has been, something that's evolving to where we're at today, which means that, our veterans and those that were retired felt that by going up to Naval Hospital, right, that's the best care that they saw at the time. And things have changed, right? We're getting more folks interested in coming here. I mean, there are talks about nobody wants to come to Guam as a doctor, but the last report from the news indicates that, our doctors are getting paid very well. And if that's truly the case, what we want to do is invite more doctors out here. And when we speak about the VA in general, right, this is the federal government. You can't sit here and tell me they don't know what's going on. They don't have the ability to find out what's going on. They know, they have the information. A lot of times the information's not being shared widely, and maybe, we need to find a way to, insert ourselves to accessing that information, because the more we can do that, the better it's going to be. But as far as the healthcare is concerned and having the retirees go up there are other things to talk about related to that. It's the MOU, right? There's a memorandum of understanding, again, becoming to be more elusive, just like the count. So I'm wondering truly what's going on. And even more important is the GAO report that just came out last week was pointing to the fact that the buildup is bringing in contractors who are seeking more health care out here. So there seems to be a disconnect somewhere. We have emergencies of all different types that are ongoing, and the problem is, what are these emergencies really about? When these folks come into these leadership positions, we need to start understanding the true number, the true reason things are the way they are. The auditor, BJ Cruz, was at the chamber meeting and talked about all kinds of reports that exist that the business people should be looking at. What's interesting is he's telling the business people to go do something. It's quite odd that, we want people to do something when they're the tax-paying fund that we're looking to. They pay the taxes. And those taxes that the businesses paying is supposed to be going to the government, where the government should be telling everybody what's going on. So,
well, that's what he meant. That's what he meant, I think. I think he meant, go read it because I'm still auditing other agencies.
Well,
it's online.
BJ Cruz is a really smart guy. And oh, by the way, he's been through a bunch of other branches, not just, where he's at today, right? I mean, BJ Cruz was, a Supreme Court justice. So he is well informed about how these things actually work from the judicial branch. If I'm not mistaken, he was a senator as well, so he should know what's going on in the legislative side. And I think he may have done some work on the executive branch side as well. So when you're backing him up, I feel that's good. But at the same token, I'm sure he knows where the pressure points are supposed to be, and maybe he should assert it just a little bit, or find out what the law says about why the auditor can't do some things, and maybe we get these people to start, looking at ways, more importantly, for how to get the veterans assistance out here. Because we were talking MOU earlier. The MOU is in existence for VA and the public health. So if the Department of Public Health and Social Services out here, I think that's still the name, well, if the Department of Public Health has an MOU with the VA, what does it really mean? Does it mean that we're going to get care from the clinics down south and the clinic up north in Dededo? That could be another MOU we need to be looking into. What's really sad is we have all these different places with all the different things that are not in order, that require us to say, hey, what are these guys doing? What about these guys? How come this isn't happening? And yet, we're down here at the bottom trying to figure out, hey, where's this at and what's really going on with it? So I think that's a whole lot to unpack right now. But
yes, let's bring it back to the veterans. So back to the veterans. So I think one of the reasons why veterans are not registering is because they've been denied before. So and they've also lost faith in
now,
the
when you talk
system.
about denied, what do you mean by that?
So a lot of veterans that have been denied their claims or didn't get the proper assistance that they should have, they just give up. So that's probably another reason why the numbers are not matching. Because the only numbers that the 24,000, I think that the number came from, that's them just dropping their DD-214 down at the ASIN office. That's where that number came from.
Well,
that
but
24,000 doesn't mean they're receiving care.
And let's just talk about that for a second, since we're honing in on the count, the numbers, and veterans, right?
Yes.
So what you alluded to was let's get back to the veterans. So yes, we're talking about the veterans, but you have to understand that the powers that be are controlling the things that happen to the veterans. So that's why we have to unpack that. And that's the reason why we need to talk about, hey, what is it that we really need to be doing? And back to the veteran count and things that are going on. You mentioned that they need to register. What about the idea of them registering up at the CBOC and being told they make too much money? Why don't you go over that just real quick so that could help?
So that is, according to the 38 CFR, if they make too much money, they cannot get health care with the VA healthcare system. So that number, we looked it up, it's $62,000. So it's not only the veteran's income, it's also the spouse's income. So if they make more than $62,000, they cannot.
Is that joint or?
Joint, both. So the veterans
income
and the spouses combined,
Right.
if they make over, which a lot of veterans do, especially the retirees from GovGuam Old Plan, they make more than that. So yes, those are the veterans that will be told, sorry, you make too much money. So then comes the nonprofit organization, which we're a part of as HMI. So we say, if you file your claim and you get a service connection, then the income threshold doesn't matter because you have a service connection. Then you fall within priority groups 1 to 8. Right. So that's the information veterans don't know. They don't know that, hey, once I get turned away from the CBOC because I make too much money, then I should file my claim. So like you said earlier, retirees, right, they don't know that they can do this. They only think they can go to Naval Hospital where they don't have to. They can use both. They can have VA healthcare and they can have Naval Hospital healthcare, retiree healthcare.
I talked earlier about unpacking. So let's unpack a little bit about the CBOC, right? And this is where, right now, Dr. McDermott, right? Dr. McDermott is the guy in charge up there. All you have to do is call him and ask him about this information, and he'll reveal it to you, right? Because that's information that should be available. And oftentimes when you talk to them, they would refer you to va.gov. When was the last time you looked into va.gov and saw Guam's numbers from our CBOC?
The last time I checked, it was like a dash.
Okay.
Which means they don't have numbers.
Okay. And when you've spoken to Dr. McDermott, has he told you, well, what has Hawaii told him he's able to say about our numbers? And is our number part of Hawaii's number, or is Hawaii's number different from ours? And what about the guys that register on the way home from deployment? Are these folks registered as Hawaii veterans now because they stop in Hawaii and get care? Are they registered there rather than registered on Guam? Could this be the place where we're losing our veterans? And furthermore, when our veterans fly out to Hawaii, are those their veterans or our veterans? You see what I mean? But I don't think there's any way for us to determine that. Have you ever tried calling the federal government and telling them they need to do something?
Nope.
You haven't done. Why not?
Tell them what do you mean?
Tell me what's the number. Give me
What?
that number.
Oh.
Break that number down for me. Give me a report that spells it out. And, you know, I think Amy's no longer working out there, last I heard, so she doesn't work for Dr. Robinson anymore. She happened to retire. And Amy was good friends with us whenever she came here and said hi to us. We just weren't able to get Amy to get on the radio, our radio show. We couldn't get her to really directly communicate with us. So it tells us that Miss Amy was very busy in Hawaii, which probably means we need to get somebody here to take care of us rather than, you know, forcing Miss Amy to take care of both places, you know. I mean, it's, if you think about it, it's like if you had a home in Hawaii and a home in Guam, right? If you spent most of your time in Hawaii, everything in Guam's not going to be taken care of, right? You shutter up the place when you're gone and you spend most of your time in Hawaii, right? When Guam is much, much lovelier than Hawaii the last time I checked. I mean, it is so expensive to live in Hawaii. So maybe we shutter up Hawaii today and we come to Guam. By the way, the buildup is here on Guam, not in Hawaii. So let's maybe get them to come here.
Which
So-
we know, which goes back to, you know, the letter that Senator Barnes wrote. Is, hey, let's cut the umbilical cord because, like you said, they're taking care of Hawaii but not Guam.
And maybe one of the things we should be doing, right, is speaking directly to the president, right? And right now we have the Doge and we have Elon Musk, right? So, you know, there was an article in the paper about pari pari, right? And that article tends to want to discuss how the relationships might be. And that pari pari system in Congress is runs far wide and deep out there that, you know, it's going to be really hard for us to get somebody to be our pari out there. Now, what that means also is that we should be putting our faces in front of the folks that are the powers that be up there. One of the problems is we already have American Legion and VFW doing that. Have you seen any reports from VFW or American Legion that we can, you know, reference or use to take care of our numbers?
Nope.
So you mean to tell me the VFW is not able to produce numbers out here for us?
I haven't seen it. The only thing I've seen is how many members are on Guam.
Oh, from
That's
the
what I've
VFW.
seen. From
Now
the
you're
VFW.
you're part of the VFW. You're a member?
Yes.
And you're also a member of American Legion.
Yes.
Wow, so you fall into both these categories. So you have some level of, hey, I'm part of this group. I should be able to get some information out of them. Did they ever send anything to you talking about the count out here or talking about the Year of the Veteran that they presented out at Congress or anywhere in the, you know, the VFW or the American Legion?
No.
Now, we're good friends with Chris and we've mentioned it to him. Now, he hasn't reported back. Now, we did see the commander of the American Legion when he visited last year. Wasn't that correct?
Yes.
Now, he said he was going to talk about us in February. I have not seen that recording.
Oh, yes, we should follow up on that.
Yes, and he promised us that he would take care of, you know, being a voice for us. Now, I think he's not going to be there anymore.
La Corsair. Oh, yeah, because they're only 1 year.
I'm not sure
I'm
what
not sure
they
if it's
are.
1 year or 2 year term.
But still, we have all these people that are doing things out in Congress, and yet reports don't come back. I mean, we have Madeline. I'm sure she's, you know, networking with everyone out there in D.C. She's part of our government of Guam now, and she's got a, you know, rich history of being a part of Congress for quite some time. And, you know, the reports that her office might generate would be helpful for our veterans out here. And, you know, we appreciate all the help that, you know, they're able to get for us to bring all of this stuff together. I mean, we shouldn't be having bits and pieces all over the place and not being able to puzzle them together so that it looks nice and decent and able for us to make heads or tails about what's really going on with the count.
So for veterans listening out there, if you've been denied for your benefits, it's time to try again or appeal. So I know a lot of veterans, especially veteran spouses, they don't know this information, and that's what we're trying to do, right? Is to inform them of important things that are going on and that veterans need to do. So for veterans that have been denied, one denial is not the end of the world. So if they've been denied, that's okay. Keep going. Keep trying. We know a veteran that got denied 8 times. Finally, 80%. So that not only gives him money, but that also gives him access to the healthcare. And he actually did that. He decided, hey, I'm no longer going to pay my private insurance healthcare. Now I'm only going to use the VA, and the care is good. He said the care is good for what he needs.
And I wanted to bring up something again, right? And, we only have a very limited time here, but we have to really, pack in the punch for everything that we need. And hopefully they're listening out there, right? And, for folks that might be looking at keywords, right? One of the things you spoke about the guy with filing for the 8th time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's part of what was considered exposed to Agent Orange.
Yes.
And maybe we need to start leveraging that, right? I don't know that many folks will be listening out there or why they would be listening, but everyone from the top levels of our military, the top levels of our business communities like the chamber, the hotel restaurant folks, these folks have to understand that here on Guam, since 1962 to 1980, if you were serving here on this island, you are exposed to Agent Orange. If you swore in from here, you're exposed to Agent Orange. With going more into the CBOC, right? The CBOC should be giving you health care regardless of how much money you make. And the reason that is because you've been exposed. And we've often said it whenever we're out there in the community doing our outreach and on the radio. Now more than ever is the best time to be a veteran. Things have changed. If you are a Vietnam era veteran, if you are a Korean War, which is very few out there, get your butts down there and get to boot camp, get to our chatting with the coach, get to the symposium, the summit. We have all different avenues of getting you to learn and understand what's going on. So that being said, those numbers are what the numbers are that we need to continue to do this, right? So that's the thing that, we talk about numbers. The CBOC, get up there and register. Miss Celeste has been someone that has been very nice to our veterans and comes around to get that taken care of. So we give kudos to her and we thank her. And she doesn't bite. So if you're a veteran and you see her, say hello and see how she can help you.
So you're talking about the March 25th, 2024 PATEC expansion.
That's right.
So PATEC expansion is if you've been, this is for those that were exposed at your home station.
Okay.
So even though you didn't go boots on ground in Thailand or Vietnam or in the waters, 12 nautical miles, if you're exposed to something at your home base.
Yes.
Now let's just say AFFF or jet fuel or the brake dust, then you're exposed to something toxic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which then affects you with your respiratory.
Yeah.
It starts causing respiratory issues. So as long as you're exposed to something and the VA acknowledges that, then yes, you can get health care.
Mm-hmm.
And the $62,000 threshold does not come into play.
That's right.
So that was new last year. So what you need to do is, for the veterans that are listening and watching, is take your DD-214 that shows that you were either here on Guam from 1962 to July 1980, and then also it should say what your duty was, your job in the military, either MOS or AFSC, or in the Navy is rate. It should tell you what your job was, and then let Miss Celeste look up and see, hey, this is what your job was. Then maybe you were exposed to these toxins or chemicals. So yes, so that's a new expansion. So thank you for bringing that up, because that is something that will get the veterans up there and get them their health care. Now, that doesn't mean they get a service connection, because even though we're saying that, you will get an ID that says you can get health care, but it does not mean you have a service connection. You still have to file a claim. And filing a claim is different. Filing a claim is a whole long process. And just because veterans get on a registry does not mean they filed a claim.
Yeah, and you know that's the thing that we have to really continue to impress upon our veterans, right? Um, get involved, right? Right now, you need to seek the help of veteran organizations. If our government is having a hard time, right? If our federal government is having a hard time, go to where you can find help, right? And we're all trained that way, right? And we'll still continue to do what we've done in the military, right? So President Trump and Elon, you're listening up there. We here on Guam, we need help. Get out here, get us some funding. If you don't get us funding, help us to bring the services to be put here on Guam, whether it be healthcare. Let's bring the healthcare money that you're dumping over in Asia here to Guam and build it here, because we are America in Asia. We are the closest U.S. soil, not Hawaii, Guam. Guam is closer to Asia. And right now, you have funds coming in under Department of Defense. Let that money be spent here on Guam. Improve the care, take care of the veterans here, and help our veterans get counted so that we can get the limelight on them and get the folks up there in Congress to start looking down and funnel that money. If not, give us some tax credits of some sort and we'll get started here. If you can't help us with the existing law, help us help ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And you always talk about, we need the hospital, right?
Yeah.
The veteran hospital. And whenever, we do the benefit boot camps or chatting with the coach, I always talk about, hey, I went to the Las Vegas hospital on 1000 Pecos Lane and I call it a diamond in the sky. I mean, a diamond in the desert, because when you're driving to it, it's so huge and it's sparkling. And I got lost in there. So there's different entrances. There's one for the emergency room, one for general care, one for prescription. There's just so many different buildings you can go to. Even when you get inside, you don't know where to go. So that is so huge, and we don't have that here. So when I compare that to the CBOC that we have, I call it the small house outside the gate next to Naval Hospital. So that's the CBOC that we keep talking about, community-based outpatient clinic. So if veterans and retirees are not using it, I think with this push of the year of the Veteran Count and Registry, hopefully our numbers go up, and they need to see us because data matters. Data matters. And if we're not collecting it, if our numbers are not going up, the VA will not know that we are out here and not know that we exist. We can get mad all we want about Guam being tip of the spear, Guam being the most strategic. But if they don't see the numbers here of veterans go up, then what is going to justify building us anything?
And that is why we need for our veterans to go register at the CBOC. And even if they say no, that's fine, because they're going to give you an answer, a reason why. Go file for your claim. More than anything, filing your claim is there's no way to doubt the fact that they know you exist. Mm-hmm. They might not approve you, but they know that you filed it. So every single veteran on this island needs to file a claim. And if we do that, I think that's going to start moving us in a better direction towards, getting our numbers up. And more than that, even if they're going to continue to use these numbers for whatever they feel is normal, we as veterans need to come together and start doing something. Because once we start doing something, they're going to start seeing that things are happening, and they're going to have no choice but to do some things with us. So get out, get involved, come see HMI, tune in on the radio, tune in on the podcast. Send us some information about things you may want to have us talk about, and we'll continue to do what we're doing to get us to where we need to be as veterans, and get us to the point where we can get the best care we can and best services out here.
And one of the big groups that needs to get involved are the Guard and Reserve on the island. Because believe it or not, Guard and Reserve veterans that are serving, you're a veteran. As long as you served and you had a DD-214, which a lot of the Guard and Reserve get. Once you go training for school, once you deploy, once you're on a mission, like there's a lot of those in the Army Guard who are part of the THAAD mission, there's a rotation. Every year, every rotation they get a DD-214. No one's telling them, hey, you can file a claim within 180 to 90 days of you ending those orders. And supervisors out there of Guard and Reserve, let them go to the doctor. Let them go to the clinic. And if you're listening and your supervisor is not good, go to the ER. As long as your visit to the clinic or the ER overlaps your DD-214, you can get care. You can register. And those that were deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, Egypt, Turkey, Djibouti, go and get registered up at the CBOC and it's free. You go there and you just say, hey, here's my DD-214. I was exposed. Can I please get free health care? And that will also bring up our numbers. And then we'll catch them and say, hey, file a claim too.
And I think we're about to close out. So here's the thing, right? Everyone that's out there listening, if you're a part of a group or you hear people tell you you are not a veteran, or they're telling you, well, you didn't go to war, so you're not a veteran, they are not the deciding factor. We know many veterans who just went and filed their claim on their own without having to go to anybody and were able to receive their benefits. So let the VA be the one to tell you that, not just somebody who's out there, oh, this is the only group that are veterans and we only help these people, and, they single out. We're all veterans out there if you join. So please get out there, register, get your stuff going. Come see us if you need some help. Tune in and get all the information you need. Thank you.
So we're almost done. We're about to close. So one last thing I do want to say is even if these numbers are not all the same, we have a baseline. We have a number that we're going to start with. So we'll see throughout the whole year of 2025 how much higher these numbers go, right? So 24,000, 11,000, 6,000. We hope these numbers go up, and it's only going to go up by veterans on this island, retirees, Guard, Reserve, those that have been denied. You keep going and you never give up. You keep trying. We know some veterans that will burn their decision letters from the VA and say, well, this is what they think my service means. Well, no, that's not what it is, because that's just one decision. When you get your decision letter back, inside the decision letter says favorable findings. And in favorable findings, you'll see that the VA conceded. They said, yes, in your service treatment records, we saw in 1979 that you had a left ankle injury. So that already means you had your in-service event. So for veterans that are listening, it's okay if you get denied. We're gonna keep going, and you're not gonna give up. And register, please. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that's it. I think our time's up here. So everyone, tune in, come see us, send us a message. We're on social media as well, Facebook, YouTube. We're on the radio. You could call in. Come to our boot camps. Come to our Chatting with the Coach. If you haven't found out or you don't know yet, reach out to somebody and ask them, or just jump on and look for HMI on the social media.
Yes, and our next boot camp is today, April 8, 9, and 10 in Molesto. Yeah. And then our next one is going to be in May. Yeah. I'm not sure what May. Second week, whatever second week is.
And it'll be posted, so just look out for us or call in on the radio or find us online.
Mm-hmm. So until next time.
Thank you, and we appreciate everyone that supports all our veterans, and thank you to all our leaders for doing a good job and providing us the things we need. I know it's tough, but we need to get to where we need to be, so that's why we ask. So keep giving us what we need, and we'll keep doing the best we can. Thank you.
All right.